Hey, it's Meredith. Don't mind the shower in the background. I'm just about to film this vlog, and lately I never film opening clips, so I'm just assuming I haven't filmed one. This is going to be it ends up being like 2-week long vlog of me talking about the books that I read while we're moving house. So we had to move because our landlords wanted to sell, and they were basically saying they would end our lease at any time because they're money hungry and wanted to take advantage of the housing price peak in Australia before it drops. Love it. Real estate said they liked us and they wanted to keep us on, so they said we could move at any time. They found us a pet friendly place, which we took advantage of because it's really hard to find places at the moment, especially pet friendly ones. The rent is 110 more a week, which sucks. We're actually in the new place at the moment, but yeah, we thought we may as well move now. We're hoping to buy next year, so fingers crossed we're not here for super long. So a lot of stuff has been kept in boxes, so it's just the moving process, reading books during that awful shitty time, and I hope you enjoy.
Sounds fun.
Okay, really quick update. Terrible quality on the phone. I also have to rush because I feel like this might stop recording because I have like no space on my phone. But the audiobook is here, guys. It took hours and hours. I wasn't able to listen to it at work yesterday. It came up in the afternoon. I'm halfway through now. I'm only going to talk about it once in this vlog, I think. I'm just going to do like final thoughts, so I'm not going to do like updates throughout. But it's here. Oh my god.
Tilly, what are you doing in the box? Have you been sleeping in the box? Are you sleeping in the box? You have a good sleep, Tilly.
Hi. Oh my god, I look terrible, but we're in the new house. And so I thought I'd do a house tour, show you around the new house while there's just like boxes and stuff in here. That's better. Okay. There's me. Hi, me.
Cringeworthy.
100%.
So this is probably going to be the bedroom. You know, it's an old house. It's nothing great, but you know, it's a house. So we weren't expecting to have these, which is nice. And then here is the lounge, which is bigger than I thought, because when the people in here before were in here, it looked a lot smaller because they had a lot of stuff, but now it's empty, it looks a lot bigger. So yeah. Then we have here the bathroom. Hi. So yeah, nice shower. We had a bath at the last place. There's no bath here, so I need to have a few baths before we move so I can get that out of my system. There's the toilet. Exciting, isn't it? Then these are the two spare rooms. So this one only has one window, so it's a lot darker and smaller. So this is probably going to be where we put my shelves. And then we've got this wardrobe, which apparently, yeah, it's only hanging, but these will be good for, we've got these little shelves that Liam puts his magic cards in. Oh, that's so annoying. That's not actually a door. Is it? Oh my god, that's not a door. That's really annoying. Anyway, so you can't even like that's the only access you get to this. That's so weird. Anyway, the real reason we're all here, the couch. Yeah. So yeah, this will probably be where I set up my bookshelves. And then this will probably be like the spare room. So I'll probably put the bed there, and then we can just put boxes here, stuff that we can't find room for. And there is this cupboard, which I didn't notice when we came the first time. So we do have this as well, which is going to be good. So we can put towels and games in there. There's also this up here, but I can't reach that, so you know. And then we have the kitchen. So this is oh crap. But that's probably where we'll put the table. And there is the rest of the kitchen. Oh, there's like a little blackboard there. It's kind of cute. Is that a blackboard? No, that's the power box. But it's like, people have written on it. Can we read this? Life. Model. Love? Model love? Interesting. And then, may as well just show you this. Another toilet. Oh my god, we get 2 toilets. Oh, there's another blackboard in case I wanted to write notes to Liam while I'm doing shit. Like, hey love, this was a big sausage. Happy with the result. Like, blackboard there. Anyway, that's it. Carrie Soto has arrived, guys. She's here now. Really, Tilly? Really? You're gonna try and interrupt Carrie Soto's moment? I'm not even surprised. That is such a cat thing to do. I just went and picked this up. I drove a night in the rain because it's been a few days since this came out. Sorry, Tilly's mucking around with my camera and it keeps flashing and I don't know if it's working. She'll move on. She's just excited that there's something new in a new spot. Something different. We can't handle something different in this house, can we, Tilly? As soon as something changes, it's a lot to handle, apparently. Yeah, sorry the lighting in this clip is so bad. I've packed like my tripod, my ring light and everything. I've literally got this sitting up on one of the last bits of furniture we have. We've packed most of our stuff now. So I've read Carrie Soto. I binged the audiobook in 2 days, so I had it finished on the 31st. I literally finished it the day after, so the 31st. So I did end up finishing it in August. Taylor Jenkins Reid has done it again. 5 stars. I loved it. I just can't believe it. I cannot believe that all 4 books I have read by this woman have been 5 stars. I don't think that's ever happened. And I don't even know if it's necessarily like she's that amazing. I just think that she writes things that I love and I'm just weak for the way that she writes them. And this one, out of all her books, is in my opinion the most niche. Like, I felt like Malibu Rising didn't have the kind of grand like appeal of Evelyn and Daisy Jones. But this was even more niche. This is a book for people that love tennis. Obviously, there are people out there that don't like tennis that will enjoy this, but I feel like this was written for tennis fans. And I think that there are so many layers to this story, to this plot, to these characters that are entrenched in things that are happening in tennis today. So I think that a lot of this will not be necessarily possibly appreciated or noticed by people that don't watch or care about tennis at all. But so I think for me, a lot of the reason I gave this 5 stars is because I'm a tennis fan. Like, I'm not the biggest tennis fan in the world. Like, I don't know a lot about the sport. I don't know a lot about the technicalities of the sport. I just enjoy watching tennis. I watch a lot of the Australian Open every year, so like it's something that I do care about. So yeah, I think that this may not get as great reviews, but I'm okay with that because I know that for me, I get what she was doing and I think she was very successful, and because this was written for someone like me, I get it. But I know a lot of people won't, and that's fine because not every book is written for like a huge group of people, like some books are just written for a very specific audience, and that is fine. And I'm so happy that I was that audience. So if you don't know what this is about, it's about Carrie Soto coming back. Please someone get this camera off me. I do not deserve to be putting everyone through this. Yeah, Carrie Soto is a tennis player. No, you never would have thought that. And she was the best women's tennis player. She had, 21 Grand Slams, and she got a knee injury and she ended up playing a lot of crappy matches, and so she decided to retire. And there is a current tennis player who has actually gotten to the stage where she is about to become equal with Carrie Soto's record. So Carrie decides to come out of retirement to, make sure that this woman does not take her title. To true TJR fashion, there are so many layers to this story as well. So it's definitely an exploration of many things at the same time as this very over-the-top dramatic story. that has a lot of heart. So part of this is also going back to Carrie's past, which is a thing that Taylor Jenkins Reid does a lot. Pretty much all her books kind of cover a huge span of these characters' lives. This book is no different. So we go back and see Carrie's relationship with her father, who is the person who, from a very early age in her life, pressured her to get into tennis. He kind of put this idea in her head that you will be the best in the world. And as she grows older and that becomes her entire purpose in life, you start to see the father possibly regret what he has done, but continues to help Carrie, pursue her dreams. And her father is actually her coach for the majority of her life, which I think is so clever. And I love that was put in this, because so many players have their dads as their coaches. And I honestly think that would just be the weirdest experience. And I think it was explored so well in this, because we see the struggle of, I want you to succeed, I want you to fight, I want you to be the best in the world, but at the same time I'm your dad, and so I want you to be happy, and I want you to have other experiences in life. And so this is also kind of about Carrie learning to have a life outside of tennis, and learning that failure is okay, and to learn to kind of love the sport for what it is rather than love it to win, and just enjoy life, enjoy people, have relationships. And so that was really like moving and uplifting and beautiful. But I think my favorite thing about this, and why I think this is relevant to tennis today, is that, again, true TJR fashion, Carrie is not a good person. We see her in Malibu Rising, she's terrible in that, and she's not great. She's heavily flawed. And why I love this is because it covers how in sport a player's personality and behavior can often be more important than their skill and actual play of the sport. And she's kind of looking into that, and to whether that should happen, whether it's right to have the media hound the personalities of these sports stars when it's like, they're incredible at what they do. Why are we not talking about that? Why are we so hyperfixated on their personalities? And Carrie is not what you would consider like a good sport. Like, she's very focused on winning. She's not like necessarily a bad sport, but she doesn't seem to enjoy the sport. She doesn't interact with fans. She's not like thankful to the crowds or anything. She's there to win. And because of that, she doesn't appeal to people, and people don't like her. And they always talk about how it's a gentleman's sport, which I died when that came up. I was like, yes. That's when I knew that this shit was real. So this was exploring that. Like, Carrie was not what people wanted her to be. She was not the perfect sporting personality. And because of that, she was hounded and degraded by the media. But she was the best women's tennis player of her time. So why was that happening? And it kind of explores that, which I loved, because we see that in tennis. And I am guilty of this 100%. It's because of the personality. And it's like, should that matter? Should that come into account? I don't know the answer. I don't think it's really said if it's right or wrong on this. She's just exploring it, and I think it's so relevant. So yeah, I really like the exploration of sport and media's impact on the way that people feel about sports, players and stuff. But there was a lot of other stuff explored in this. Racism in tennis, colorism, ageism. I think that was all really interesting. It's a relevant topic, and I think that it had this dramatic story about this flawed character that we came to care about. It talked about fame, it talked about the media, and it had so many layers to it. It talked about a lot of things, and it made me very emotional. I was super emotional about this. I loved the relationship between her and her dad. I loved the relationship between her and kind of the rival tennis player. I loved the relationship between her and this other tennis player who's kind of older, and they like practice together. They have a really cute relationship, and it's just,
I love you so much.
And she did such a good job with the matches. Like, there's so many matches in this, and she just gives you like these highlights. And if you don't watch tennis, you might be confused, but because I watch tennis, I could picture it so clearly. And it was like I was watching tennis, because I was so nervous. There are so many matches in this that are so pivotal to Carrie's career and this comeback, and you're just like, oh my god, is she going to win this? Like, and you want her to, even though you're like, she's not the greatest person. Like, she's a homewrecker. She's selfish. She's entitled, but she's glorious. She is brave. She is feisty. She is determined. And she is a Taylor Jenkins Reid character because she has all of these remarkable, impeccable qualities. She's a character that you can't turn away from. She's a character that grips you from the start, that you are so entrenched in, that you just cannot stop thinking about. But she's also terrible and bad, and it makes you feel bad for rooting for her. And it's just, I love that experience. I cannot get enough of this experience from Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I just think that this was perfect. I literally, I had such a good time. I didn't want to put it down. It was just a delight. It was a treat. We do not deserve this author. We do not deserve her. I have actually read something else, so I may as well just talk about it here, because this is the perfect time to film, because the terrible lighting, Tilly's going crazy in the background. It's just the perfect time, apparently, to film another reading update.
Metal dick piece of shit.
Metal dick piece of shit.
So I have read I'm Glad My Mum Died, which honestly had some similarities to this, which was a bit bizarre and weird. But this is an actual autobiography. Or is it a biography? I don't know. It's whichever one is, the person wrote it themselves. Sorry, I'm very dumb. And this is a lot. So if you don't know Jeanette McCurdy, she was in iCarly. She played the character Sam, and that was a Nickelodeon show, and you know, the actors and actresses were kids. And this explores her experience being on Nickelodeon, her experiences with producers, directors, cast. It talks about her experience growing up getting into acting. It talks about, you know, what it's like being a child, that kind of intense environment, working as a child, and all of the things that come with that, especially when you are a child, and how that affected her growing up. So it talks about all of that, but it also talks about her relationship with her mum, who abused her. She forced her to get into acting. She didn't want to get into it, but she wanted to please her mother. Her mother was very, again, abusive, manipulative, terrible. And it kind of covers how her mother encouraged her to basically have anorexia, how that turned into bulimia. It's a very, very intense book, so lots of content warning, so please be careful. But she had a really tough life. Like, it just shows that you can't just say celebrities don't have it tough, because they do. And especially as children, I just feel like child acting is the worst thing, and I would never, ever, ever want to put my child through that. Like, your child is working. Those children are working. They should be playing. They should be exploring, and they shouldn't have these kind of responsibilities. And it's really, really sad that they do. You know, she talks about how when she was meant to be discovering herself, she was discovering how to become these characters, and she realized that she never figured out who she is. She never knew herself, and that's so sad. That is a really sad thing. And how hard she worked, and the pressures to be thin and pretty. What happened on the Nickelodeon sets sounds disgusting. She was bribed with $300,000 as hush money to not speak, and it just makes you wonder how many other of these Nickelodeon stars took that money and now can't speak. Yeah, there's just a lot of sexualizing of children, which is just disgusting. And the creator should be in prison. That's all I've got to say. And this book's been getting a lot of buzz, which I think it highly deserves. Obviously, she's talking about a lot of things that will mean a lot to a lot of young people because of her experiences, but also for my generation, you know, we grew up with her on our TVs. I really feel like I care in a way that I don't care about a lot of celebrities in that way. Like, I feel really sad for her, and I feel really bad for her, and I think these children that were put in these positions deserve to be able to speak their truth and say what happened to them. And I think that as viewers, we also deserve, if these people are wanting to speak up, to hear about what it was really like and what we were actually watching. I'm just going to cringe every time I see stuff with children now on TV, because I just don't think it's a good environment for children. I really, really just don't. Like, from now on, can children just be like CGI or cartoons? Like, I don't think child acting is good. Wow. That's really bad lighting. I should probably move. I don't know where's good. I'm tired and I want to sit down, but there's nowhere to sit. Okay. So it is Sunday. So we've now had our first night in the house. And it went well. By the time we finished moving all the furniture, it was like 9 o'clock. And we were exhausted. And we just could not be bothered setting the bed up. So we just put the mattress on the floor and slept there. Yeah, it's been a bit chaotic. Let's talk about what I've been reading. So I have been smashing out audiobooks. I've been reading heaps. I've read 4 books and it's the 4th of the month. So I've read like an audiobook every day, which I'm just so proud of. I finished Dear Martin yesterday and I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was very heavy, but I think it was written in a really good way for teens. I think it was very approachable and written in a way where it was relatable to teens. A lot of the conflict and conversations being had was in a way that it would make a lot of teenagers feel, and the conversations teenagers would have. You had a lot of instances where they were having discussions about white privilege, and there were some white students that were very defensive of that, and the way that they behaved was unfortunately the way that I can see a lot of white people acting when they are told about their privilege and they don't like to hear that. What this is about, I actually consider a spoiler, so I'm not really going to say what the synopsis says. I'm just going to say it's about a black teenage boy who is at a party. There is this white girl who's been drinking and she is about to get in the car and drive, and so he's trying to help her get out of the car so she doesn't, drive and have an accident. And they know each other. They kind of like each other. The police come and they just assume that he's trying to do something dodgy, and so they arrest him. And he is grappling with that experience because he's, a really smart kid. He's got lots of, career plans in his life. He really struggles with being treated like that, cannot grapple with the experience without acknowledging that it's a racist thing, and how this, platform that's meant to protect is against him, and the fear that he feels because of that, and the distrust and betrayal from that system. And he writes letters to Martin Luther King Jr., and they're his way of processing what's happening and trying to learn from the things that Martin Luther King Jr., talked about. And he's trying to manifest that kind of elegance rather than just be angry. So it's just kind of about this teenage boy who's very relatable, exploring this experience. And again, it's very relatable for teens. So yeah, it was really good. I didn't give it 5 just because there were a few things with the writing that I found a little bit confusing, especially with like the perspectives, and also just like the romantic plotline was a bit cringy, and like just some of the ways he talked about girls was just a bit gross, if I'm being honest. But again, probably the way teenage boys think, and that horrifies me. Next, I read Swallow the Air, which is by Tara June Winch, who is an Aboriginal Indigenous author. She is Wiradjuri, and I've read one thing by her before and it was 5 stars. I feel like this is probably going to be 5 stars, and it was. It was absolutely brilliant. It's a very short little book, but it covers so much, and it's such an important read, especially if you're Australian. I highly recommend picking this book up. It is about 2 siblings. They are Indigenous, and their mother passes away when they're quite young, and so they're kind of raised by their aunt who has a drinking problem, and the brother has a very strained relationship with the aunt, and it makes him end up leaving. And it kind of covers the 2 paths that the siblings take. The brother becomes quite self-destructive, whereas the sister has become really interested in her Indigenous heritage, so she goes out to try and find her family because their father left them when they were younger. And it was just really well written. She just has beautiful writing, and I think she just creates very distinct characters. I think just like overall the characterization in her works have been really brilliant. She captures a group of people really well. She doesn't sugarcoat things. I think she definitely talks about the sad realities for a lot of Indigenous people and communities, but she doesn't like write these sob stories. They're stories of hope. And I think they are more hopeful because she is realistic about the reality. I like that when she talks about the situations Indigenous people are in some areas and in some communities, she talks about why it is this way, and this really dissects why this has happened. There's this one scene that just like nearly made me start crying because she's trying to find her family, and she wants to learn about her culture and everything. She talks to this man and he says to her, look, you can come here and you can try and find your family, you can try and find your culture, you can try and find what you're looking for, but you won't, because we weren't allowed to be Aboriginal. We've lost what you're looking for. It's not here anymore. It was taken from us. And you can just see why these things are happening. So she's brilliant. She's probably one of my favorite authors. I don't know if I can say that until I've read her third book, but I would say even if I read that and it was like 1-star god awful, I feel like she's still a favorite author of mine, because the 2 books I've read of hers have been 5 stars. The Yield is one of my favorite books of all time. I feel like even Swallow the Air could be. It was so good. I definitely want to get a copy and physically read it and annotate it. But I just highly recommend picking this up, especially if you're wanting to get into Indigenous literature. I think Tara June Winch is a really good place to start. And then I finished Dragon's Ground. It was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is a like desert fantasy series. It's indie published and it's set in a world where there's like a wall and it separates humans from magical people, and some of the magical people are kind of like humans. So our main character is a shifter, so she feels like a human, but because she is a shifter, she's separated. And basically the world behind the wall with the magical creatures is really dangerous. It's really barren. It's basically desert, and it's really cutthroat. And there's kind of this plot line with these kind of like jewel gem things that give power, and there's kind of this like emperor that's trying to get the jewels, and so we're following this character trying to stop that. But both books have also had this plotline of she's trying to save someone. And honestly, the main character in this is iconic. She's just so likable. Like, she has flaws. I love that both these stories have kind of been her wanting to save someone. Like, she really is loyal and cares about people that are in her life. And I think that makes her a really endearing character to read about, because, you know, her story is about being a good person and being loyal and having qualities that, you know, are really easy to respect. So I really like that about her, and it makes it easy to read this story because you like her. And I love the writing style in this. It's very character driven in the way that the dialogue and internal dialogue work. It feels like there's so much characterization being shown through the way that, you know, she speaks and thinks. And so I really like that. And the plots are fun. I was a bit confused. I don't know if that's because it's been a few months since I read the first one, but even the first one was a bit confusing. So I do think they're a little bit convoluted, and I feel like possibly it would be easier physically reading, but just to be listening to it while doing other things, it is a little bit difficult to follow along at times. Hello, I've just come here to say that I'm going to wrap this vlog up now. It is Wednesday and we're almost unpacked. I did nearly knock my camera off. I did finish Love Hypothesis. I talk about it in my vlog, so you can go watch that if you want to hear my thoughts, but I did end up giving it 3 stars. I thought it was pretty mediocre and I was pretty meh about it. But yeah, that's going to do it for this vlog. I read lots of books, I moved house. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll be back to regular videos, regular uploading now that things have calmed down. Fingers crossed. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in another video very soon. What was that? Am I trying to be a wiggle?
Hot potato, hot potato.
What is this shit? Okay, goodbye.